Hi, it's Jen from Shabby Fabrics. I have a project for you today that is so practical for your table. I love these scallop placemats, and they use this product from Bosal called scallop bags. And there's 4 of these inside here. And we did make a scallop bag with that here. It is just adorable. 3 of the scallops were used to make the bag. The 4th was used to make this adorable clutch. Now this is available as a kit. That's a separate project. I won't be teaching that one today, but I wanted to let you know where the derivation of the name came from for the scallop bag. But what Christine Poor of Poor House Designs, who's one of the most popular pattern designers today, she makes wonderful patterns, has graciously allowed us to show you certain parts of her pattern that's called Scalloped Placemats using the same Bosal material. And I just think this is just absolutely beautiful. And I love to doll up my table, especially if I'm having guests over. I like to have a beautiful place setting, and I'd like it to coordinate with the time of the year. So this makes it a very doable project where you can have a variety of sets of placemats and change them out and kind of decorate your table up for a special evening meal. So let me get started with, we'll be making again the placemat, and that'll be based on the Scalloped Placemats pattern. The dimensions that you'll be cutting certain strips to will be inside the pattern. So if you do purchase the kit, you will be getting the scallop material you'll need, all of the fabric, and of course the pattern to make the placemats. If you decide to do your own material, you'll want to be sure to pick up the scallop placemat pattern and a package of the scallops here, and then you'll be using your own fabric. And of course the measurements are all inside, full color instructions, excellent pattern. We found it very easy to follow. So this is the back. Again, this is the Chloe collection that is being featured here by Maywood Studio. I think this is just a fresh and beautiful collection for the summertime. So let me put that aside and we'll get started on the project. One of the things I love about the scalloped bag, this material, is it's actually fusible on both sides. So that's one of the coolest things. Sometimes when we buy products, they're fusible on one side but not the other, and you're using a basting spray. I think one of the things I love about this Bosal product is fusible on both sides. We'll get to that in just a minute. The first thing that you'll do to build your placemat is you're going to start off building some mitered corners. I'm just going to bring this out and show you where we're going with this. So this will help you understand the architecture of how this actually goes together. So you can see there's 2 longer rectangles that have a little trim here, and then there's 2 shorter ones. So this is how we're going to start off, and I want to just give you a sight picture so that will help you follow along. Again, you'll use the measurements inside the pattern to get your rectangle and your little strip here, and you're just sewing that. You're just going to sew that to the top and press it. So you'll have 2 longer and 2 shorter. And that's what you're going to miter those corners. I want to show you what that corner is going to look like. You're going to build a picture frame. So I'm going to lay this out first to make sure that I do indeed have, I want to make sure the trim isn't up here. I want to turn that around so that the stripe is going toward the middle, just like our project is here. Once I'm satisfied I've got everything in the proper orientation, now we've already mitered this ahead of time. I'm going to put that off to the side. If you're not comfortable with miters, let me show you how easy they actually are. Once you've determined, yes, these 2 are the side I want together, I will simply place one directly on top of the other, matching up both here and here and the ends. So those are stacked directly on top of each other. On my 4.5 by 8.5 inch, this is a creative grid, we have 45-degree lines here. So looking at the 45, if I go ahead and I place that line, 45, parallel and on my line, this is the 45. Sometimes that can confuse people, but all you need to do is the line that says 45, you line that up parallel to what you have here. Let me make sure everything's good and stacked. Miters are very specific. I take my time on miters. I always have, and that has served me well. When I've rushed that in the past, I end up seam ripping. I'm not happy with the miter. It didn't come out quite right. So you can see my line is right there, and here's where I'm going with that. I'm going to use my friction pen. I'm going to draw. Now what I like to do, I don't like to cut this away at this time based on the idea that I think that miter is right on the mark. I like to draw it, pin it, sew it, check it, and then and only then, when I'm satisfied, do I trim that away. So I'm going to pin this well. I don't want it to shift when I take it from my table to my sewing machine. That's another thing I've learned. You know, I might have drawn a beautiful miter, but by the time I got it to the sewing machine, it had shifted just a bit that it was off, and it ended up seam ripping and pinning, and the next time around it came out beautifully. But that was a lesson in just take the time to pin. Now let's go ahead and go to our sewing machine. And we're just going to sew directly on that line that I just drew. Okay, let's check that miter. Let's see how we did. So when I say check, the main thing is I actually put this in a 90-degree corner anywhere on my pressing mat, right? You have horizontal lines and vertical lines, and they create that 90-degree corner. I simply open up the project and I see, did I achieve the 90-degree angle? And it looks like I did, and so I'm satisfied with that. At this point, I would go ahead and cut that off. Now, if I had a rotary cutter, I like it to be precise. I would go ahead and cut that. I don't have my rotary cutter with me at the moment, so I'm just going to use my Clover Bordeaux scissors because we will be using those later too. Now I'm going to set that seam, and I like to press my seams open here. I think most everybody knows that in a miter to go ahead and press that versus having bulk to one side or the other. So let's look at that again. So that's on my table, and we had done the others ahead of time. Let's just look at that. And of course, what you would do here to do the other miters, just like before, lay them together, put your ruler on. This is why that 4.5 by 8.5 inch ruler is so fantastic. Draw your miter, same thing, do it in the corner, and now you have your picture frame. All right, so let's put that aside for now. And you have cut your backing, which is this pretty, it has a kind of a scroll on it, on kind of a light green. You simply place those things right sides together, and I've sewn a 1/4 inch all the way around. So that's how you get to this place. So let's put that aside for now. The inside of our placemat is this beautiful geranium print that's on the white. Again, it has the scroll. As I mentioned before, the scallop fusible bosal material is fusible on both sides. I naturally want to go ahead and iron from this side because I'm in closest contact with the product. But because that is fusible, I want to protect my iron and my ironing board. So I'm either going to use a material that I don't mind. Well, let me just be specific. I don't want this to attach to something. So if I put a fabric down and I iron on that, for example, like this, it's going to attach to that. That's why I like to use an applique pressing sheet, because I know it will release. Now I've got 2 applique pressing sheets. We use those, of course, for all of our applique projects. And this is yet another reason to have those around. I'm going to flip that down, and I'm just going to start pressing. One of the things that they talk about in the pattern, and we experience ourselves, is don't use steam. If you always have your iron on a steam setting, be sure to turn that off and do not use steam. Otherwise, this material can tend to crinkle up, and that is definitely nothing that you want to do. So we're going to iron this real well, starting in the center, making sure everything is, all my wrinkles are out. Okay. And I love how on the applique pressing sheet, there's no contact. It's not stuck to that. So yet another reason to have some applique pressing sheets around in your sewing and crafting room. Now at this point, you'll go ahead, let me show you what we've done ahead of time. You'll go ahead and we're literally just going to cut around those scallops. This is where I love using the clover scissors. They're super sharp, they're comfortable in my hand. If you have any of that that's not and didn't make full contact, get your pressing sheets back out, go ahead and iron again, and looks like in here, you're just gonna iron that again. You'll come back with your scissors and you're literally just going to trim right next to the shape, all the way around. Okay, we've done that ahead of time. And that's what this piece is here. So just as you'd expect, just cut around. Now for the next step, I'm gonna take this piece here, and that's what will actually be fused to the back. Now in order for me to see where I need to be, I need to flip this over. And you can see the stitch line. You wanna just kind of frame this within where you've stitched. And I'm gonna use a couple Wonder Clips here just to keep that in place while I flip it over. I definitely need to flip it over to iron it, because if I ironed it from this side, the heat's not gonna transfer all the way to that side. So I definitely wanna just clip this in position, hold that in position, and we're gonna flip that over and iron that as before. Move that just a touch. Okay, I'm gonna take that to now that I'm sure where I want, I'm gonna start in the center again. As I work toward the ends, I'll release those clips and just let it relax. All right, you get the idea. We need to attach these two layers together, and the Wonder Clips just kind of held everything in position while we did that. Once you feel confident that this is ironed well to the other piece, and take your time, the next step will be to change out your presser foot to be a zipper foot. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll let this project cool down a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and change out my foot. One of the things I love about the Bernina is how easy it is to change out presser feet. It is literally just a lever. I put in my new presser foot and I'm on my way. There, rock that down, it's done. Now with this particular zipper foot, we found that we would be on the right side. I'm gonna 2, 3, 4, 5. I just want to be on the right side of that zipper foot. Then what we'll do is you're just going to come right along the scallop as your guide. You just want that needle to go right down next to that, and you'll be attaching those two pieces together and you'll be pivoting in the corner. So let's get started with that. I'll just start in a corner. I think that makes the most sense. And I'm just right next to that. I don't get to use a zipper foot very often, so this is fun. In that corner, I'm just going to lift and pivot and continue on. Isn't this beautiful? How the scallops are just so pretty. I just want to keep going, but I'm sure you have, I'm sure you'd like to see me do something else. You get the idea. You're going to go all the way around the project. Then at that point, you will trim, about 1/8 of an inch away. You don't want to go with a full 1/4. because there's a lot of bulk and you won't see the scallops as beautiful. So let me show you how close we did trim that. We were very snug on that. We went ahead and some of the places we were about an eighth of an inch, and then in those valleys, let's see here, like in these valleys we clip in just a little bit more. I'm going to trim a little bit more away here. Now you don't want to get too close because you know you will be washing these. But that's where I love using the Clover Bordeaux scissors. They're so sharp, they don't even know that there's bulk there. It's just a non-event for those scissors. And you're going to clip in your little valleys, and I think the pattern definitely mentions that as well. Now you're going to turn this through. This is always my favorite part is the reveal. Clover has come up with not only the things like Wonder Clips and all of their amazing notions, but I think one of my favorite notions that I've been recently introduced to is their point turner. What I love about this point turner is it has not only this point when I'm trying to get something that's kind of comes to a point like that, but a nice arc. So, and it's flared, so it comes in like this. So it just goes around this beautifully. It's like it was made to be used in concert with this. It's like it was made for this project. Watch how easily and quickly I can turn this entire placemat using that tool. Done. It's a non-event for that tool. And then we'll just bring that, and of course, you're just going to press that, just like so. And as you would suspect, I'll show you what we did on ours. We went ahead and stitched in the ditch right here where that flange is. We wanted that flange to be up, so we just stitched in the ditch here, and we chose a green thread for that. And then we went around our scallops just on the inside by about 1/8 of an inch, and we just kind of echoed that again using a green coordinating thread. So look how adorable that is. It's economical, it's fun, it's beautiful. You can have a place setting for each month of the year. And I hope you enjoyed learning how to use this amazing product from Bosel.